Hello and welcome back to Let's Play Riven 2024. We're here in Gehn's workshop on what is commonly known as Boiler Island. Let me get my back used to the keyboard here. So named because there is a large boiler out this other door. It's hard to tell the doors apart from inside. But there's a large boiler down there, and it seems to be where he makes paper and does other experiments, at least before... well, we'll see what happened here. So we're going to be, in this episode, we're going to be reading Gehn's journal and some of this other paperwork that's laying around. And we will see what this is all about. Gehn, being the Dunny supremacist that he is, writes his dates in the Dunny numbering scheme. And I'm not going to bother translating that because it's not really all that important. Reading these things is kind of part of my voice, so if I pause, I'm taking a quick drink of water. Hopefully be able to get through this journal without too much work, without too much pain and suffering. I think Catherine's journal is the worst as far as length in the game. So, but I will comment again that the writing and the actual font and type or handwriting of this is a lot more readable in high definition than it was in VGA mode back 20 years ago. I have been cataloging the natural elements of this age for many years now, yet I still continue to find evidence of the number 5. As a boy, it was very clear to me that it held a place of special significance in the Dunny society, from the ancient heraldic emblems of the ruling elite to the humble homes of the commoners. It was ubiquitous. Its presence here is clearly a direct reflection of the minds that authored the texts I used to compose this age. Further proof that through their art, the Dunny masters were indeed creating the marvelous worlds they wrote, and not, as many have mistakenly thought, merely forging links to pre-existing worlds. While all of my ages have been based on Dunny designs, I see now that the ones most vested with the power of 5 are also the most beautiful, the most perfect, and undoubtedly the most structurally sound. Okay. I still have yet to determine how the Dunny color symbology reflects the superior design principle. While ostensibly a 6-color system, I am convinced that there must be some deeper connection to the number 5. I will continue to investigate. Okay, about a 5 or 6 color system. Anthropologists suspect that humans assign names to colors in roughly the same order from culture to culture. Some cultures may consider blue and green have the same name for blue and green, just like we have we call red anything of a certain whole family of colors. The names aren't, and yet at the same time, if you go down to the local paint store, every tiny little difference has a different name. So. But nobody knows what those names are except that paint company. Alright, next entry here. The Yttrim traps have been particularly fruitful this year. Apparently, the breakup of the islands has not adversely affected the subterranean ecosystems. Unfortunately, I imagine the rebels are also experiencing a generous harvest. No shortage of poison for their darts this season. Such vexing issues aside, this unexpected windfall has allowed me to refine a particularly pleasant extract for my pipe, one that is smoother than any other in recent memory. Is he smoking the Yttrim, which is that little frog thing that we saw in the trap, and then jump down the elevator shaft? Okay, next entry. I have reluctantly decided to suspend my inquiries into the unusual behavior of the water of this age, as there are more pressing matters that now demand my attention. For future reference, however, my investigations have revealed that have revealed the following. I believe the remarkable properties of the water to be caused by a microbe that resides within it. I am imagining a motile unicellular organism, but one with a structure that allows it to manipulate bits of water, the aggregate effect of which is that the composite body of water is able to deform itself in response to threatening conditions. Prolonged exposure to extreme heat, a period of extended boiling, for example, seems to kill them off, which would explain their dramatic aversion to even moderate rises in temperature. There is still much to learn, however, regarding this peculiar phenomenon and its possible uses. Construction of the imagers has proceeded without fault. Remarkable how easy it was to adapt the Dunny technology to mimic that of the Ahmad. The two cultures must surely have crossed paths at some point in their histories. It may even be that Kita was a direct descendant of the Dunny. How else to explain the redemptive depth of our connection? But that's all pointless now. Okay, so Kita is Gehn's wife. She died during or shortly after childbirth of Atris, I believe. And the fact that he says, well, she is special, so she must have Dunny blood, is yet another example of Gehn's Dunny supremacism. All right, next page. Maintenance on the steam vent caps completed. I am extremely pleased with the continued success of the system, another example of the superiority of Dunny technology. Ironic that Atris and Catherine's meddling unwittingly provided me with such a convenient source of power. So those domes with the piping are steam vents. I am certain now that the fissure was an unexpected byproduct of the changes they wrote into this age as part of their machinations to trap me here, and that Atris never intended for the book to be lost among the stars in the process. Better that a linking book be destroyed than to risk it falling into unknown hands. Had they foreseen the creation of the fissure, they surely would have sought another solution, as the ensuing cataclysm may well have consumed the entire world had it not managed to intervene. Catherine would never have knowingly taken such a risk, and surely my son, given his own dearth of vertebrae, had only meant for Riven to become my prison and not my tomb. I am discontinuing regular observations of the expanse beneath the fissure. I have tracked the stars and have proven that their paths are cyclical, but without proper instrumentation there is nothing more I can learn. My theory, however, remains unaltered. The fabric of this age was breached in a way that permits matter to be hospitably exchanged between two discrete yet overlapping spaces. Yet the attendant paradoxes defy the laws of conventional physics. The great column of wind that formed when the rift first appeared suggests a vacuum, as one might expect in space, yet my early experiments seemed to confirm the presence of a breathable atmosphere. That Atris momentarily threw himself into the void, is further evidence that it might possibly be safe to venture into, but without knowing its true nature, I simply cannot take the risk. It is also difficult to say what would happen were I to reopen the fissure now, but it's highly probable that the results would be disastrous. My hopes have been dashed again. The latest ink formulation has proven to be yet another in a long list of failures. Frustrating to expend so much effort constructing a linking book, only to end up destroying it when it refuses to function. Too often has this lab grown uncomfortably warm by the flames of these never-ending disappointments. Without my reference library back in Dunny, a properly orthodox linking book may simply be beyond my means, but I cannot simply burn another book. There must be another way. Pens of Fate. Late last night, while pondering these interminable setbacks, I went to light my pipe. The fire marble got away from me, however, and rolled across the gateway image of the open book before me. If the consequence of this had not been repeatable, I would not have believed my eyes, as the marble left a faint yet definite trail of increased clarity in its wake. The change did not last long, but it was unmistakable. If I could find a way to boost the energy output of my fire marbles, it might be possible to suppress the variance long enough to facilitate a stable link. But how? A spatial anomaly occurred yesterday about 5 spans above the north shore of Temple Island, a breach of stars seemingly identical to the one beneath the fissure. It began as a small cloud-like hole, which then commenced to expand in random surges. With some effort, I was finally able to contain it with some runic plates, similar to the ones I devised for the fissure. I believe it will hold, but the appearance of a new rift is troubling. And yet it has also left me with the most uncanny feeling that something fundamental has shifted in my favor. I believe it may be time to give this inexplicable mystery a second look. I have erected a small dome, a pressurized airlock mounted upon the contained breach. This has allowed me to safely conduct tentative forays into the expanse without subjecting Riven to further invasion and the destruction that would certainly attend it. It is a bafflingly improbable space, yet surprisingly more accommodating than my initial observations had led me to believe. Breathing is indeed possible within it, yet I cannot say that it is respiration as I am used to it. Rather, as nonsensical as this is going to sound, it feels at times as if the expanse was breathing me, and in the process imbuing me with a sense of endless possibility. At last, the breakthrough I was hoping for. After my first full day of experiments in the expanse, I was astonished to discover that the fire marbles in my coat pocket had come to fluoresce. A quick strike test confirmed that their energy levels had increased significantly, and their charge had lasted longer than I would have thought possible. In a clear act of divine providence, the expanse has given to me the final piece of the puzzle, an apparently boundless energy source that should be more than sufficient to rectify my linking books. But I must work quickly. 2 more breaches have occurred in the interim, each one more aggressive and difficult to contain than the last. Time, I fear, is running out. The breach is now number 5, a sure sign that I am on the right path. I have connected the domes on each of them via a nexus of pathways within the expanse, which will also serve as an inter-island shortcut as I continue my work on my enhanced fire marble complex. The loss of 2 more men yesterday has made it clear that the full spectrum of energy is too great for even my finest fire marbles to contain. So I've decided to break it up into 5 discrete frequency ranges, which will later be recombined for application to the book. I have installed 5 charging stations within the expanse, each one calibrated to imbue a blank fire marble with a separate band of the total energy needed. A pneumatic tube system will then convey the charged marbles to the great gold dome on Riven for recombination. Freedom is finally within my grasp. Aha! That's what we've been playing with in the starry place when we charge up those fire marbles and send them to the dome. The problem of how to return to Riven has been settled. Gehn has proven his usefulness over the years, at times nearly rivaling my own engineering prowess. He and his team will have the honor of being the first to link to the New Age, bringing with them the necessary materials to build a vastly simplified version of the book apparatus, which I have personally designed. If they do not return within a reasonable amount of time, I will revise my design and send additional men until they get it right. Should they founder, however, I am prepared to sacrifice every last man on Riven to continue the effort. This cannot fail. All right. And if the island wasn't breaking up, the age wasn't just falling apart and breaking up and constant tremors and stuff, I would tend to be even more critical of Gehn about that statement. But if this does fail, then everyone's dead anyway when the island collapses. So he's a little more callous than I think he should be, but he's not entirely wrong here. Not by any means entirely right, but he's not entirely wrong. At last, long last, a viable loop has been established. After an eternity of toil and sacrifice and an unconscionable preemption of the ages I might have fathered, I have finally linked to a new age. And I believe that is the Dunny number for 233. Because Gehn has a tendency to just number his ages and not actually name them. It is a bleak and barren world, perfectly suited for my purposes. By closely encompassing the real with the written, closely comparing the real with the written, I believe I will soon be able to create a more appropriate age from which to relaunch my mission. For now, however, I will move my office and living quarters there so that I may safely continue my endeavors without distraction. Although it is but a stepping stone, 233 is an utter triumph. To think that I have accomplished in a matter of years, under extremely adverse conditions, what it took my Dunny ancestors centuries to achieve. Okay. But you already have their... You already have their plans, the knowledge of how they did it. They didn't. So saying this is better than their original accomplishment is a lot of hubris. Which seems to be one of Gehn's failings. I caught one of my assistants thumbing through this journal today. He will certainly never do it again, but I am glad I chose to write this in a language these people cannot decipher. Perhaps it's time I reviewed security measures with each guild master. No problems expected from the builders, maintainers, and surveyors, but the bookmakers and educators may need a bit more motivation. More reports of spirit sightings. It seems that under Catherine's leadership, the rebels, or black moiety, as the villagers stubbornly insist on referring to them, have attained a new level of sophistication in their terror tactics, renewing their campaign to intimidate the weak-minded into joining them by preying upon their cultural superstitions. I suppose I should be concerned by this, but it strikes me as rather almost laughable. If the rebels wish to dilute their ranks with the dimwits, then who am I to stop them? Chemical analysis of one of the rebel knives has yielded curious results. The metal contains elements that are unlike anything I've encountered on these islands. It appears the rebels have access to a resource that I am unaware of, perhaps a mine or an uncharted island. And those are the knives that we've seen everywhere. Most of these knives have been found on the south side of the village, the same reason that reports of people mysteriously disappearing have emanated from. I think a closer inspection of the area is warranted. The fact that the rebels deliberately leave these distinctive knives as a sign of their presence is concerning. They're growing bolder, as if they no longer fear discovery of their hideout. Recent measurements indicate that the movement of these islands has slowed dramatically. My previous estimates predicted a total collapse in approximately 3 months, but with the new figures I am no longer certain. I have nearly finished writing the 234th age, and have every confidence it will be a safe place to relocate to, but it would still be useful to know what caused a sudden halt in Riven's breakup. Is it possible the age is stable after all? If so, I must discover how it differs from this one at 233. That looks like 233. Which has already shown troubling signs of decay, though further tests are needed. And yet, there is something about that gives me pause. Could it be that someone is attempting to repair the damage to the fifth age at its source? I cannot help but think that the hand of Atris is behind this somehow. Okay, the summary of that is that all those marbles we've been playing with in the Starry Expanse are there to power linking books. There's some there. There's the pneumatic tubes like we saw in the Starry Expanse, and there's some paperwork here. Fire marble to power marble, strike force compensation, And there is a color symbol. We don't know these are colors yet, but we've seen these on the domes, and each island appears to have its own symbol. And these also have to be colors, which we'll find out in a few minutes. And a plus or a minus, and then a dunny number. And these are generated unique each game, I believe. So I'm going to go ahead and write these down, and we'll go from there. The counterintuitive aspect of fire marbles that a greater strike force does not always yield the maximum energy output never ceases to amaze me. Optimal strike force base value is scratched out. Okay, how do I put this down? There we go. Alright, what's this toy do? Ah, it strikes things. Yep, with different amounts of force. You set the force with this thingy, prime it, activate it, but you need something in here to stick. So let's see if we can find something here. There's one more document I want to read, which is over here. Last week, one of my acolytes caught a rebel sniffing around the cemetery totem in the jungle. In keeping with the general ineptitude of my men, the dog was allowed to escape, but at least the fool had the presence of mind to bring me the object in question. It's a primitive eyepiece into which one of the native numbers has been set. Given the fact that their accursed numeric system requires you to know which way the symbol has been rotated in order to read it, however, there is no way to make sense of it. It is probably an overestimation of the moiety's intelligence to suspect that there may be some greater meaning behind it, but tomorrow I shall send a surveyor out to inspect the other totems just to be safe. Okay, so if the white stripe is on the top, then the jungle totem has just the hash mark on the bottom. We saw the numbering thing in the schoolhouse, I believe. If not, we'll come to that soon. Alright, now if you remember, we grabbed this thing here. And we can drop it in there. And we can put it here. And then if we set this thing, that was not the right answer. Didn't like that. Yeah, not enough. And like that. Between the bell and the green zone and the flashing light up there, that looks to be the optimal solution. So the base number is 9. Because this is 5, this is 10. 1 before 10 would be 9. Alright. Anything else we can tell from in here? I think that's it. So we have some information that we might be able to use. And we will continue in the next episode as we continue exploring wherever the other maglev goes. So tune in next time, and thanks for watching.